In this segment, we're going to look at 10 simple guidelines for creating a digital interactive experience that's really usable and enjoyable. I want to take a second to give credit to Nielsen Norman Group at nngroup.com, who did the original research, published the original article that was the source of these 10 guidelines that I'm going to go through with you. These guidelines have served me very well in all my design efforts in my career, and I think if you pay attention to these 10 things, you're well on the way to a really great digital product experience. So let's go through them. First of all, visibility of system status. What that means is make sure that you are playing back to the user on screen what's going on. Did they register successfully? Was the email sent? Next up, match between the system and the real world. What that means is let's use language that makes sense from the user's point of view, organize the site from the user's point of view, use their world, their expectations as the reference or starting point for what you present to them in your app. Next up, user control and freedom. Always have a back button. Always have a way for the user to control where they're going, what they're doing. Don't let the system get out of control or have a way where they can't back out of what they're doing. Next up, consistency and standards. Basically, use standard layouts, have modules that behave the same way to do the same things, have your navigation in the same place, and use a consistent visual style guide, editorial style guide. You want your app to be learnable and predictable. Number 5, error prevention. Design it so that you anticipate where users might make a mistake and try to design help, design a process where they don't make that mistake. Anticipate where they might get tripped up and try to make it where that doesn't happen. Next one, recognition rather than recall. Sounds a little obscure, but really all we're saying is don't make people have to remember a bunch of information. For example, don't make people have to remember where they are in a process or where they are in your website. Show them. Give them information on the screen. Give them the instructions they need. Show them the data that they're working with. Don't make them have to remember. Next, flexibility and efficiency of use. What this means is you need to have a different kind of experience for different users. Usually this means investing in a first-time or new user experience. For new users, where you kind of guide them through maybe a little more of a hand-holding experience, extra explanation, but you have things like shortcuts and accelerators, as they're called, or an expert mode for people who understand your app really, really well. Next up is having an aesthetic and minimalist design. Of course, the design you want to use depends on what you're trying to do with your app, but you can never go wrong with something that's very clean, very simple, non-distracting. Next up, help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors when this happens. What we're talking about here is basically writing really good error messages when users make a mistake, so that when a mistake does happen, the system can tell them what happened and then how they can fix it themselves, how they can get out of the jam that they're in. Finally, help in documentation. This is often overlooked. People feel like they don't have time to do it with their product, but even simple FAQs, some basic how-tos will go a long way towards helping your users get comfortable with using your app. So these are the 10 basic usability principles that I've used frequently. They can be a checklist for you in designing your experience.